D-U-R-E, move in the house. V-E-N, D-U-R-E, move in the house. Hi, my name is Delia Van Prague, and this is Nothing Ventured. Today we have Jesse, a member here at Venture House, with us to discuss mental health. Hi, Jesse.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How about yourself?
Oh, great. I'm doing fabulous also. So, how did you get to Venture House? How did you hear about it?
That's actually a pretty interesting story. I'll try to keep it short. But over here at the Queen's Hospital, I was in for an inpatient program for about 6 weeks. And it was Maggie and I believe Stephanie. And they came into the program and they described, this is what Venture House is, this is how close it is, this is what we do, this is what it's for. And I immediately went down and signed up, got my tour, and the rest is history. It's been a boon on my life so far.
And how long have you been a member?
Ooh, I've been a member probably for 4 or 5 months. Well, my first impressions of Venture House was this place was great. Immediately I walked in, I saw this guy. He had an Elden Ring shirt on. And I'm like, I'm going to love this place. We talked about music, we talked about video editing, we talked a little bit too much. But we really hit it off, I think. And later on, I went and have done audio editing for a whole bunch of other things.
Including this podcast.
Yes. I deal with the audio on this podcast.
What is your diagnosis?
For the longest time, it was depression, but I was diagnosed probably a couple months ago as bipolar disorder.
And what was that like, having the change in diagnoses? Was it... I don't want to put any words in your mouth.
Don't worry about it. It was nice to finally get something solid, not just for years and years. It was just depressive disorder. No matter how many times I was hospitalized. And now eventually we got a group of doctors together and we came up with, they came up with bipolar disorder. So it was honestly a breath of fresh air. It's bipolar. It's one of the most stigmatized mental health issues. But for me, as I said, it was a breath of fresh air. It's because I finally figured out, okay, this is what I have.
What is something you wish people knew about mental illness?
That it's not, people aren't scary. We're just normal people. We have a hard time doing things. We have a hard time figuring things out, though that might be the ADHD. But we're not, quote unquote, crazy. You know, it's very hard. When I say I'm bipolar, some people, you know, normies, just, they double back. You know, they're just like, what? But there's also some people that are just like, oh, but that doesn't change who you are. And it doesn't.
Right. And it's just part of who you are. Sometimes it's like you have to separate the diagnosis from the individual, because you're not just bipolar. You're Jesse.
Yeah.
And
I'm a slew of a whole bunch of different things.
Yes. So, could you tell us a little bit about your mental health journey? This could include hospitalizations, really high highs, like more like mania, really low lows, like depression.
A lot of depression. I was hospitalized probably around 5 times. 3 to 4 of those times were actually because of suicide. I had suicide attempts. So you know, it's not easy to talk about sometimes, but I feel like it needs to be mentioned.
Mm.
And it's, I just had a panic attack and suicidal ideation the other day, believe it or not. It doesn't go away, but it builds me up and prepares me for, life in the future as a continuation of the issues that will happen.
Mm.
I've already made a promise to myself. There's not going to be any end of life, so I'll be here.
Well, thank God for that. And thank you for sharing that with us. I know it's very vulnerable, but it is important for people to hear, and especially that suicidal ideation doesn't just go away. It's just kind of lingering around, and you should be proud of yourself that you made it through the panic attack and the ideation, because that's hard. And you're right, it does build you up. It helps build that armor to keep you safe.
Yeah, some people say, sticks and stones. I say I've done way worse to myself than you could ever say to me.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit outside of the pod, and you said we were willing to discuss it. You're trans.
Yes.
Yes. And I want to know, what is your favorite part about being trans?
One of my favorite parts about being trans, to be all honest, is when people I know, I can correct people. I don't do it maliciously. I just do it like as a matter of fact. Some people say, "Oh, he." I'm just like, she. And that brings me joy for some reason. It's just one of the little quirks I have.
Correcting the people close to you?
Yeah.
I love it.
A lot of people here in Venture House don't know I'm trans, but I don't make it my business to tell everyone, just because it's not everyone's business. But
absolutely,
there's some people out there that make it their business. Nothing against them at all. It's just I don't care. I don't care enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of a good place to be, I think. With trans people, sometimes they'll experience gender dysphoria.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask if you experience gender euphoria.
Ooh, okay. Personally, when I'm dressed in like slightly feminine clothing, I'm not super feminine. But like if I'm in a dress or if I'm in, I usually wear like some jewelry. That's what makes me feel euphoric.
Yes.
And it's a great feeling because I don't experience it very often. Dysphoria is very prominent in my life.
What brings you joy?
What brings me joy? Bringing other people joy. Making other people laugh. Of course, there's my own self-happiness. When it goes through like my hobbies or stuff I do. But when I bring a smile to someone else's face, that's something that I hold very dear. I might not make a lot of jokes. I might not be a funny person, whatever. But it's definitely something I hold dear to my heart.
And you are a funny person. You just have a very dry sense of humor.
Thanks.
Yes, you're definitely a funny person. I forgot to ask you about medications. Do you take medication?
I take a lot of medications. I don't have the list on me currently. I know some of them are like Iroproprazole. I take Eliquis. It's a blood thinner. I take so many others. They're all really long, annoying names. I don't have any problem talking about them.
But you're saying it's quite a cocktail. That's what I call mine too. I take 5 medications. I think I could list them all. Wellbutrin, lithium, Luvox, metformin, clozapine, and that's it.
Clozapine. Or clozapine.
Oh, Clozapine and Clonopin.
Clonopin. Yeah, no, I take Clonopin, and I also take lithium.
Yes, lithium has been a very successful drug for me. I don't know about you. It really helps even me out.
Yeah, well, with my current psychiatrist, he doesn't want to mess around with the levels too much, but it has been it has evened me out more than some other medications.
Yeah. So, what's one thing that you really love about Venture House?
Personally, I love how everyone kind of builds each other up. You know, there's some issues here and there, but they get solved and people just end up building themselves up again. You know, the same thing with staff. I'm very close with a lot of staff here, you know, one in particular. And he's just, personally, he's just worked me up and, you know, always checking in if I'm not here, working with me on all sorts of projects, increasing my range of stuff that I can do, like Adobe Premiere Pro. Always happy to help me out with anything with that. You know, Logic, the podcasts. You know, he's the one that actually put me on the podcast and said I'd be a good fit for doing the audio. You know, he's a very, very good guy, and that person is Dan. So, thank you.
That's amazing. Dan is simply the best. So what is one thing you really love about yourself? And it can be more than one thing.
Well, going back to when I was talking about Dan, it's like I can, you know, having other people help build me up and having the drive to take what other people have given me, whether it be vocally, whether it be skills or anything else like that, and I can build it and build my character up. And I think that's one thing that I do well. It's not something I advertise very, very often, but it's something that it does happen. It does happen quite a lot, and it's just it's an amazing feeling to have such a support of people, especially like you, Delia. And it just adds to my character, and I willingly put it into my body and make sure that I thank people quietly when it comes to being able to build myself up like that. I can't do it without people. So that's one thing that I do really love about myself is I can take from others and, you know, graciously accept it and put it into my own being.
Absolutely. Because it's like they're handing you their baby. When someone, an artist, or gives it over the project to the editor, yeah, it can feel very intimidating, but to have someone who is so willing to take something good and beautiful and make it better and just even more itself is such a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some things that you're passionate about?
I'm very passionate about producing music, dancing, and parkour.
Very nice. How did you get into parkour?
That's actually a funny story. Back in early YouTube days, I was watching something called Urban Ninja, and I thought it was the coolest thing. People flipping over things and jumping around and just doing really cool things. I'm like, there's no way they're human. And then I found NYPK barbecue. NYPK is New York Parkour. And I went like 2010, 2011, 2012, and I think 2013 or something. And I learned how to do parkour through, you know, Vert, Quiet, Bryce, all these names that, you know, I look up at now, and some of them are, you know, like Bryce, like some of my best friends. Also, may I say, quiet. Just for all due respect, rest in peace. But these are all people that helped me bring up movement and then bring up my character and, criticized me, brought me down, then lifted me back up and said, hey, you could do better. These are all, the parkour community is an amazing community. I'd rival it with the Venture House community, to be completely honest. They are so supportive.
And you're not doing it anymore?
Not that much. I'm going back into it now since it's getting warmer out.
Cool.
Yeah. My dancing community, I don't really have.
What type of dance did you do?
I did, for the longest time, Melbourne shuffling. And that's the running man and the T-step with like moonwalking and other stuff along those lines. And it was so much fun. And then I fell in love with dancing and I started learning tutting, I learning gloving, I learning glow stringing, I started learning X-outing, jump style, hard jump, popping, liquid, waving. I just learn and learn and learn and learn because dancing it's like you're a superhero. I wish I could teach that to other people, but it's hard because you got to really want to learn. Dancing is still very prominent in my life. I do it all the time. It makes me feel relaxed.
I used to dance every single day, so I just sort of fell out of it and I haven't been able to get myself back into it.
What type of dancing was it?
Oh, just freestyle, really. I would record myself and see what it looks like. But I haven't found my way back to it, but it was a great source of joy. Yes, okay. What kind of music do you make?
I make orchestral music, scores. I make electronic music, hard trance music. Experimenting with all different sorts, but mainly orchestral / scores. It's hard figuring out how an orchestra works. Right now, I only have 4 electronic songs on record labels. I have 1 on electrified recordings and 3 on hyperdrive recordings.
That's awesome. And are you able to do this sort of shuffling dance to the electronic songs?
Yep.
Very cool.
I'm getting old though. It's hard to keep up.
Yes, I hear you.
I hope that personally in the near future that I can help other people do the stuff that I'm doing right now for the media unit. Hopefully that we could get some people in here to learn the stuff that I'm doing. And if I can take part in teaching whoever into doing this, I think it'd be great. Because it's not every day where you get opportunities like this. Like if you would have told me that I would have been part of a podcast and doing audio editing for it, I would say, you're crazy. It's happening. And I think the more people that we get involved, the better. Venture House has helped me in more ways than I can think. Whether it be the director, the staff, the members, everyone has played a part. And it's just amazing to see what Venture House has unfolded for me and what's still unfolding. It's exciting to see moving forward as someone from the media center. We're still very new, but things like that will change hopefully very soon. I'd love to teach more people how to do stuff like this and to work on podcasts. And, it's possible. If you can think it, if you can dedicate some time to it, it's totally possible. I don't think people realize that. Some people are like, oh yeah, I would like to do a podcast. It's like, put the time into it. We'll make it happen. I just have a lot to thank for Venture House. So, thank you.
That was beautiful. Well, once again, I'm Delia Van Prague. This is Nothing Ventured. And Jesse, thank you so much for coming today, and I'll see you on the cutting room floor. And have a mentally healthy day.